Is this a new thing when people get onto lives? We take a sip of a drink, like, excuse me, you just caught me in my lounge room, in my kitchen. We know we're live. Good glorious afternoon. Hello, Jade. Oh, I'm so excited by today. I'm viewing your request, and I'm gonna let you in, baby. Hey, Tyler, welcome. Welcome, Chef Gula. Oh, you missed. You're in the dark.
Why is it so dark?
Maybe because you're Lilith and I'm Eve today. That might get a bit tricky. I don't know what to do.
You don't know how to be Eve. This is true.
Oh my goodness. I'm all set up. Everything is
There's
balanced
the
and it keeps moving. There you are. There you are, gorgeous. Hello, sexy chops.
Good glorious morning, my love.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Brookie, I can see you're here.
I'm actually really enjoying my cacao I made. I have to get someone to send me cacao from Oaxaca because it's difficult to get here. And it's
every time you say Oaxaca, I think of the Kiwis doing the haka.
Oaxaca is the land of the machete. Look, I'm disappearing. It's my doobie flacket. You know what I mean? The doobie flacket.
You what?
The doobie flacket. The doobie flacket. You know what that is? Like, what's his name? We all know what's his name is when we're talking about them. And a doobie flacker.
Doobie flacker. I don't know who doobie flacker is, but
no, it's not a who, it's a thing. A doobie flacket is a thing. The thing that you're using, the thing that you need, the thing that you can't live without, but you can't remember what the name is, so you call it a doobie flacket.
That's hilarious. I thought it was called doobie whacker.
Yeah, but you're from up north. You're a bit wacko up there.
Right. In South Australia, they call them doobie flackers. In Queensland, we call them doobie whackers.
Doobie whackers. I was asked yesterday where I was from, and I said Australia. This is a South Australian thing. And she goes, "Oh, I thought you're from England." I said, "Oh, honey, I'm from South Australia."
Yeah, you guys are fancy. You say things real fancy.
Real fancy. Oh my goodness, I'm going to spend the whole time just like, and there we go. I'll hang on to it.
So what's crack-a-lackin' in Mexico?
I went on a date.
How was it?
I've decided, I was speaking to a friend today, I'm going to just start dating like a Trojan, just so I can do videos afterwards. Like, actually not take it seriously. I should know. I have to look at integrity around that. But I think, do you know what? I'm just going to just start dating whoever asks me out. I'll go on a date, and then I'll be able to rate it the next day. It was terrible. Awesome. It was terrible.
The Dating Chronicles.
The Dating Chronicles. Yes.
Well, look, dating is bloody. It's quite an edge.
Yes, it is an edge. And I mean, you know our conversation. So I tried someone my age and Caucasian. It wasn't exciting.
Not enough black for you, babe.
Not enough black for me at all, my love. And yeah. But for a man that's my age and a bit older, he talked about his mother the whole time. He talked the whole time. I looked at my clock and I actually went to the bathroom. The date, Barbie. Was it the date? Oh, what made the date so terrible? I will tell you, darling. No, he rocked up in shorts and flip-flops. I mean, you know me. I'm wearing heels, tight jeans, little tight black jeans, beautiful top. Took an effort, got my nails done. He's got fucking cargo shorts and flip-flops on and a t-shirt. And nothing wrong with t-shirts, but it's like, have you been home today? Or you just like rocked up. As a woman, as you know, like if you're meeting someone at 7, you arrive at least 5, 10 past 7, because there's no way as a woman you want to be standing at 7 o'clock or 5 to 7 in a restaurant, in a lobby on your own. Like, it's just not on to be waiting as a woman. So I arrived there at 7 past 6, and he's not in the lobby. And And I'm like, oh, I'm not going to stand around at the lobby. So also just to take my time. So I was doing something and not standing. I walked up the stairs. There's like 5 flights of stairs up to the restaurant. And I met him coming down. He was coming down and he just, you know, so here I'm tottering and he's like, oh, there you are. He goes, I waited for ages for you. And I'm like, it's 5-minute ages? Like, wow, okay. And he didn't even say, oh, you look beautiful, or hello. It's just like, oh, there you are. And so we just like continued walking upstairs. And then, so that was 6 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, I got a word in. I looked at my clock to go, and it was 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, I got to speak. And it was like, I need to order. In fact, like, can we order? Do you know, I had to take care of everything. I had to, like, he handed me the menu at one stage to get drinks, and I just passed it back to him. I said, this is what I drink, you choose, da, 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 da. But I had to, like, call the waiters over. I had to, like, say, we're 2 hours in and I'm just starting to talk. I've heard about your mother for 2 hours. Yeah, so just having to take control the whole time and just, so yeah, just not feeling at all like, it's just like you just needed someone to chat to or on. So I didn't, you know, didn't feel appreciated as a woman whatsoever. And let's get really honest, a bit of fucking white privilege, old man white privilege, sort of up north style. So that was quite hard to just sit and breathe through and sort of make comments. Huh? No, go.
Was he selling his empire to you, love?
His empire? No, he mentioned a lot how much money, you know, he was making and made and all. He mentioned that a lot. But it was just stuff around. One thing I can't stand about living in a foreign country is when you get together with someone, and especially the people that are, he just kept saying, so do you still work? Like, are you still working? Like, yeah. But just also a lot of things around, you know, what's not right in Mexico, like the gyms. And I'm just like, you're not in the States. You're not in it. So it's just like, ugh. You know, instead of celebrating the differences and da-da-da-da, it's like, and he lives a fucking awesome life here because he is white, because he's bringing US dollars in. So I also find that, you know, complaining about the way the gyms run and what happens and the fact that, you know, taxis are this much and Ubers are this much and, you know, there's a whole, like, all of this stuff. I'm like, nah, come on. We live so well down here coming from the West. It's like, it's incredible to, so yeah. Anyway, I went into the bathroom at like around 9 o'clock and said to, like, sent Alunde a message, sent my son a message going, oh my God, it took 2 hours before I could even talk. And Alunde's like messaging me back, laughing his head off.
Amazing.
So yeah, unfortunately, it was a bit of a flop. And yeah, I just think he needed an audience that he wasn't taking notice of. So as a woman, I didn't feel, oh, sorry. As a woman, I didn't feel really honored, or like when I say even honored, I didn't feel seen, taken care of, anything like that. And just so that's why. So I wasn't in, yeah, I just sat and listened.
I'm sorry you had a shit date, babe.
I know. No.
For those of you who just joined, Melissa's just been chatting about going on a date. And one of our beautiful family who are watching has said, that does sound terrible, 2 hours before you are able to interject. Whoa. May we please have a list of 3 things so we can write it down to be better date. Pretty please.
Oh, yes, I've got, can I do first one? Can I do the first one?
Go for it.
Sorry, darling. Sorry, I just got so excited because that's such a great question. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's amazing.
Because the thing was, is like he chose a restaurant that once I told a friend, she's going, oh my God, Melissa, you know that's an Italian restaurant that's full of gluten and cheese, and I don't eat either of those. So I left him a message and and we worked it out. So when we got there, he said, oh yeah, I didn't think, he thought I would just wait till we were talking to find out what you ate and didn't eat, what you eat and don't eat. And I started laughing and going, so you're going to wait till I'm sitting in a restaurant where I can't order anything and watch you eat to ask me what I can eat? Like, he found that funny. So that's number one, when you're asking someone out on a date, you know, inquiring do you have any food restrictions? You know, what's, you know, and even asking, like, what type of food do you absolutely love to eat? And are there any food restrictions that I need to know whilst I'm planning our date?
Yeah.
You know, inquiry.
Yeah, I feel like planning is so important because that's in itself, like the planning process and the texting or question or talking on the phone, whatever you feel comfortable with. Finding out what the person likes that's like foreplay for the date. Just rocking up and winging it. Like no wonder the guy spoke for 2 hours because like that's what most people do. A lot of people do when they're nervous. And we know from Alison Armstrong's work that when the masculine's trying to impress, they will talk and they will keep talking and talking and talking. And, you know, often people have a preconception that silence is uncomfortable. So silence is really uncomfortable for some people. And, you know, it's natural to think that you have to fill up the space because of that preconceived idea about silence. But really, what's super sexy is being asked questions. Because that's what dating's all about. So this is number 2. Ask questions right from the beginning. Be curious. Like be there to fluff your feathers, of course. Like, you know, you're there to shine. You're there to show the person who you are. But at the same time, be curious because when we go on a date, and this happens a lot, and there's so much misunderstanding between the masculine and the feminine with this because I see it with my brothers as well and with past partners and with my grandfather, and my dad used to do it sometimes. He was more of a non-talking person. But, you know, when you feel under pressure to perform, it's like this nervous anxiety talking. So I'm just going to tell you all the things and I'm going to impress you. But that doesn't feel impressive because everybody just wants to know that they're interesting. You know, like we really need to feel that you want to get to know us. And so, beautiful brothers, it's not so much about coming in and doing this full fluffing of the feathers. It's more like, hey, who are you? What are you about? What turns you on? And can I just say one more thing about that? Like, often we don't ask questions because we're afraid of the answer. Because, you know, that asking questions about things, we have to be willing to find out that this person is not a match. We have to be gutsy as fuck to go into a date being willing to look at it head on and go, hey, you're awesome, but this is not for me. And often people hold back from asking questions to find out the information that we need because we're already in the rejection. So this is where the over talking happens, filling up all the space. And it's also where the preconception of the rejection is already there. So this is where you do the work. This is where your internal personal sexuality practices, or whatever you practice for your consciousness expansion, this is where we come into this place of like, okay, I'm already in the preconception of rejection. What practices am I going to do to strengthen who I am and walk in there being the presence of a fucking king or a queen, knowing, and I know the language in king and queen, it's pretty white privileged, but you know, essentially it's that essence of like, boom, here I am strong enough to receive your love. So that's number 2. in a
That's number
nutshell.
2 in a nutshell. That's awesome.
But
You know, yeah. And I love that, JD, and it's so eloquent how you've explained that. Because it's this aspect of when you're saying receiving a no, that aspect of rejection is, there's so much to play with in the world. Like going on a date, like for me, it's also too find really fantastic humans to converse with, to play with, to go to the movies with. Like just because you go on a date and say there's no sexual chemistry, it's like if we get on really well, why not still go to the movies? Why not go to the markets together? Why not have dinner parties that you're invited to as well? Like this thing is like, well, if we're not a sexual match, then like it's black or white, and yet we live in a culture that's so lonely. So we're also not filling the middle part, is like, the middle part of it. And I love what you're talking around that, of going in like, I'm willing to experience the no, because this also comes up with presence. And I think this is what I want to bring into the third aspect of, because this is a huge part to mastering your ejaculation. I don't know why with it. When a man is fully present when he's comfortable with the uncomfortable, it's holding that space of presence. Because when we're looking at discussion, like as JD said, getting curious, asking questions, we're both there to shine. It's like if you're up for 5-6 hours talking, and you're both going back and forth, lots of questions, like that is so vibrant. That is the vibrancy of getting to know someone. Now, when you've got presence, so I'm thinking like even, as a man, waiting, making sure on a date, and I've actually even put this in a caveat before when I've been talking with someone, when they said, okay, let's meet at 7. I've actually said to someone before, just so you know, I'm actually going to arrive there around 10 past, 7, because we were meeting, this is back in my old town, we're meeting in a bar because he was new, and so then we're going to go somewhere. It was too hard to do instructions. But because we're going to meet in a bar, I'm like, I do not want to walk in on my own and like walk in and have everyone turn and look at me and me standing there looking for you. So if we're meeting at 7, I'm going to be arriving around 10 past, 7, because I need to feel safe. Especially with women, we spend an hour and a half getting ready, all of that just to stand there and freak out that, oh my God, he's not here, and oh my God, everyone's looking at me. I'm not being received. So it's that thing of arriving early, of being there, holding the space, creating the safe container for the feminine to walk into, pulling out the chair, like asking how she is, commenting on how beautiful she is, commenting. I mean, I always comment on men. It's not just only men commenting on women, but it's like allowing the person to feel safe, walks into the container, you're there, and then the belonging. Oh, you look so, oh my goodness, that dress looks amazing on you. You look really beautiful. Wow. Wow, this is really beautiful to be walking next to you. You look really beautiful. Now she belongs. Yeah. And you also creating this container of safety where there's belonging just for that moment, just for the next hour, just for those hours. Yeah. So presence in the masculine is, how can you breathe deeper? Can you breathe deeper down into your body? So when you're sitting at the table, in that presence, often the next question comes, or the next things to say comes. Do you know what I mean? It's like this, what JD was talking about, like we're worried about what to talk about, or if we get nervous and we're talking too much, like that is ignoring what's going on. It's because it was interesting. It's like I really, because with this experience, it's like I had to order the food 2 hours in. So I was getting really exhausted. I was getting so exhausted, and from a feminine's point of view, it's like where we're making decisions all day, then having to take care of the container when we're out as well. It's like, oh my God, for me, it's just like, we're reading. So by 9 o'clock, I was getting really faded. So, but by the time the food came and everything, so I'm starting to fade around 9. And because, through nerves or whatever, he was just talk. Come 10:30, he's like, we finished, build, and I said, no, I'm finished. I don't want any more, And then he's like, do you want to go out and have a drink? And I'm like, no, look, I'm so exhausted. He goes, yeah, I noticed a while ago you're starting to fade. So he's noticed, but then he's still trying, do you know what I mean? It's like, so that I'm just like, wow, so you noticed but didn't mention. So this presence of breathing, of like stopping to talk, breathe, and just be present in the moment, and things will come up. But that when the masculine is present, and also in a woman being present when a man is talking, being present. Like this is the other thing. I got exhausted because I was holding so much presence. I was just being really calm. I was being so still and calm. And I've been in my masculine all day. So here I was being kind of demanded by the situation to be more in my masculine again. But when you're holding presence and stillness, you get to notice a lot more, and it also allows the feminine to feel like she has a place to unfold into, to shine, to unravel. And I think when there's more presence and the feminine can unravel, you get more of Lilith than Eve. Because I was doing a bit of an Eve that night of like, okay, I'm just gonna sit silently and wait for this to finish. Which leads into what's today. So can you read that, darling?
Yeah. Sorry, babe?
The message that's come in. Can someone recover after a bad day?
The same person, Chef Gula, has said, can someone recover after a bad date? Afterwards, would you ever explain to the date why they were a bad date? Do you feel responsible in letting them become aware of their mistakes on the date? Oh, I just want to acknowledge how beautiful and super sexy it is to be so curious.
Yes.
I think this is amazing. What awesome questions. Thank you so much. Melissa, do you want to answer?
I went out to the first part after a bad date. So you can, as the person who, like, let's say from the masculine point of view in this situation, yeah, the next day texting, like, to recover from something, to even place something more into the container, is like asking if they got home okay. Yeah, it's like checking that they got home. Like I walked home because the Uber drops off, it doesn't come up my cobbled streets. So it's like, as a man, just checking that you got home okay. Yeah, just checking, because our world's different to yours. Walking up streets, checking you got home okay. And you might even say then, just want to let you know I had a really great time. And then if you're sitting there going, oh, I don't know much about her, I realize I probably talked a lot. I'm really sorry about that. And getting really honest. If you were nervous, to recover from a bad date and you realize it was a bad date, because this is the thing, some people don't even realize. Like this guy doesn't even realize, because he sent me a message last night, and it was just really interesting. It's like he's in his world that at this point in time is fine, which is fine. But if you think that you've had a bad date and you feel like it didn't go well, be really honest about that. Like, honesty, which takes courage, is sexy as fuck. So for me, for example, if I'd gotten home, walked up the streets, 3-4 blocks I have to walk up, and then I received a message, taking care, hey, just checking that you got home okay. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I did, thank you. And then if I was to receive a message, if the person believed, look, I was really nervous tonight. I talked a lot, and I actually realized that we spent 5 hours together and I didn't ask one question towards you. And I did get, would you be willing to give me another chance? Oh, fucking hell, man. Yes. Thank you so much for acknowledging that. Yes. Oh my God, yes. And yeah, it's true. And I would then get honest and I have to say I'm a little bit exhausted because I just felt, and I would love for us to try again. Like, fucking awesome. Honesty. And then if you get an honest answer back, look, no, you've done your part. There's that whole thing of communication. You don't communicate or say things to get a reaction. You do it for yourself. You communicate, you own up for yourself, you forgive for, all of those things that we do so that we're well, not to get a reaction from the other one. Not needing a response from the other one, you're doing it for yourself, I think is the other way to explain that. And would I let them become aware of their mistakes? Well, this far in, probably not. Like, for me, it's because, I just won't go. I would just polite, like really beautifully, like if he asked me on the date, I'd say, look, just to let you know, I have no problem running into you and being friends and stuff like that, but I don't think a date is something else that, just to be honest. But I don't think for me right now I would go, because a lot of people don't want to receive it. If they haven't asked for it, they don't want to receive it. And my thing is in my life, because this is my work, I'm not going to turn into my social life and become become the coach in the social life either. Like I personally, need someone to come into my space that's already got some stuff on board. So I don't want to be coaching this person. And it probably wouldn't be received, especially he's nearly, he's past his 50s. He's in his world. He's got everything sorted and correct. So it's like, great, he's doing his life as he wants. It's just not for me. But I wouldn't. What about you, JD? What do you think?
Absolutely. I think a general rule of thumb in all relationships is to honor people's psychological boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Because, if people are not receiving and asking, if someone's not asking, they're not in a place of openness to receive. And we often, especially truth tellers, the Sagittarians of the world, the Capricorns of the world, people who have lots of Jupiter in their chart and lots of Saturn in their chart, if you're one of those humans that is a truth teller, that you really burn for justice and this sense of like, but the world can be a better place and I have to awaken everybody. I honor you. That's amazing. But just take a chill pill, because this is where I love how Jesus said, don't cast your pearls before swine. And I'm not saying that anybody is a swine, but what that saying actually means is hold your truth close to your heart and really take care of what is precious to you. Because when someone is not able to receive you, that's no reflection of your worth. And it's not your job to make them receive you.
Yeah.
If someone's asking for advice, if someone's asking to do better in the world, then they're in a state of receptivity, and you can then step in and go, hey, thanks for asking. There are so many ways that you could do better, and I see you, and this is my delivery. Yeah, because I'm going to say this especially for the psychic humans in the world. People do this in the spiritual development community all the time, because we can see something on a psychic level or a woo level or a consciousness level. Everyone's all up in each other's grill, and it's so not okay. Like, we need to be constantly asking for permission. I have a message for you if you would like to receive it. I can see that you're struggling. There's a few things that I've explored in my life that might be helpful for you. Are you open to receiving? Not like, oh yeah, that's because you've got a wound with your father. That's not okay. Psychoanalyzing other humans is not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where, inside of this whole thing of dating and interrelations with any gender, any age of human, boundaries and consent need to be at the center of everything, where we are constantly checking in to see if someone is able to receive. And this is how we get to take care of our rejection wounds as well. Because giving away our pearls to the people who can't receive us is essentially setting ourselves up for rejection. So even though we might be able to see the father wound, we might be able to see all the ways that this person's cooking it and can do better, we actually are we're taking care of ourselves by just waiting, taking that chill pill, chilling and having a look at what the energetics are. Because if, like Melissa said, like if someone is, obviously he's not asking questions, he's happy in his life, he's he's established, he's an older man. He probably is quite all right with believing that he's killing it. And for someone else, he might be.
Mm.
And that's like, I believe that there's this whole thing of like within any connection of any kind, there's the setting up of the container. Are we having a casual date? What kind of food do you like? You know, and if you want to step into the masculine role, like Melissa was saying, she didn't want to be in the masculine role. She does that all day. So for her, for the Melissa style glory, she's like, oh my God, I'm going on a date and I get to be juicy as fuck and I get to be really feminine and I get to sparkle and I get to put my high heels on and my lippy, and it's something to really look forward to. So that's why in the beginning it's so important to find out, hey, what do you want to get out of this? What do you need? Because, you know, from the choosing of the restaurant or to go to the beach, right through until the end of the date and then the aftercare, that's the whole entire thing. That's the interview process. And it's okay to look at it as an interview. It's a human being that you don't know. Like you have no idea about who this person is or how they function. So instead of coming into it with this sense of like, oh my God, I've got to impress you, it's like, cool, we're two human beings that have, maybe we'll jam, maybe we won't. Let's check it out. And that's why Melissa and I always say to our girls in our mentorships, like, have fun with it. Practice dating as much as possible. We're both advocates of being on Tinder and being on dating sites because it gives you the opportunity to stop having this lack consciousness around other human beings. Because the truth is that you're the fucking bomb. And when you realize that you're the bomb, you'll start walking into dates and situations from a place of, I'm here to see if we're aligned. I'm here to see if my mind, if you can fuck my mind wide open. I'm here to see if your love language is similar to mine. Like old mate rocking up with his pluggers and his cargo shorts, he should have, you know, if that level of casual is what he wanted, the more appropriate date would have been, hey, can we meet on the beach for a casual beer? Instead of booking a restaurant where Melissa is, you know, if you're meeting someone at a restaurant, a woman is immediately going to say, oh my God, I get to dress up.
Oh my God, when am I going to get my nails done? Okay, I need to have a shower this time. Like we plan. It's like, oh my God, what time do I have? Because we go out for dinner at 6, so I need to like have lunch the latest at 1, so I'm not too full, so I can eat. Like, you have no idea, man, what goes on. I sometimes share with my son. He goes, what are you thinking? I went, do you want to know? He goes, yeah. And I start, and he'll go, huh? All of that? I said, but I haven't even finished yet. Like, and then that goes to that, and then I need to, and he's just like, oh my God. And I went, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just in the kitchen cooking you lunch, and this is what's going through my head. So you need to understand then, like, if you, like, we have a lot going on. So if you ask us out for a date, we're working out, you know, oh my God, you know, some women, it's like the hair appointment, or it's like I need to wash my hair. I won't wash it on Friday because I'm going out Saturday. That way I'll wash it Saturday. That way I can blow dry my hair. Like, we're all getting ready to shine in front of you. So when we walk towards you, be waiting in the lobby, be waiting, you know, at the best place possible at the entrance of the restaurant, and acknowledge that she's put in a lot of effort to arrive there. Oh my goodness, you look so beautiful.
Acknowledging human beings all the time is essential.
It's essential. I acknowledge men all the time. I love it. I acknowledge women as well, actually. I love it. I love acknowledging other women in the street and out, and when people look so glorious. It's just like, oh my God, I was at a cafe 2-3 days ago, and this couple came in, and she had this 17 coloured retro dress on with a big scarf with a bow on the side, and he had this 185 coloured retro shirt on with a bow tie on, and like he had orange, like, you know, his ginger hair and ginger little toe beard, and they sat up, and when they were walking out, and they had to walk past my table, and I went, I just have to thank you guys for being so glorious and for coming in when I'm in the cafe and I get to see how wonderfully dressed you are. And they went, oh my God, and we just had a half an hour conversation as they're on their honeymoon, and and it was so awesome.
Oh.
I mean, you've got two people looking like that. You can't just let it pass by in silence. Like, they put all of this effort in. They match. They're like, you know, they're stepping out of most people's comfort zone. Like, they're stepping out of everyone's comfort zone to dress like that. It needs to be acknowledged, and it's gorgeous. And you make their day, and because they made my day. I mean, to feast on that color was like, oh yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Especially right now. You know, make it a practice of engaging with and acknowledging at least 5 people when you go to the shops.
At least 5. Actually, well, let's give everyone homework. This is how we sparkle.
Yeah, like if you want to be seen, you've got to be willing to see others.
So this is all of your home play lovers that are watching and watch a replay for this whole week until next Monday. And this is actually my home play this week. I've been giving it this week from the group stuff that I'm in, that we need to flirt with kittens and dogs and babies and everything when we come into flirting. Because flirting is not about, I'm about to have sex with you, or I'm inviting you to have sex with me. Flirting is not that. It's flirting with life. It's seeing someone, asking questions, acknowledging them. So 5 people a day, and start seeing what happens. Start seeing how much joy you bring to the world.
Oh, yeah. I love it. And we cover that in our All of You program when we do the Seductress of Life archetype.
We give such good home play.
So,
so now you need to go and flirt.
Yeah. My work is to flirt with everything. Everything. I mean, I flirt with the trees. I'm like, hey! Oh my God, look at you. It's so beautiful. And I'm like stroking the bark. Oh, look at you. It just looks on free flow now. The other day I found myself stroking the bark, and I was just thinking about how soft it looked. And then I realized that I was in the middle of the street. I must look like a total fucking loon. People will be looking at me going, look at this crazy tree hugging woman. Anyway.
How much fun.
This is actually a perfect lead into the Daughters of Lilith and the Daughters of Eve. It feels like maybe we could just touch in on Daughters of Lilith and Daughters of Eve today, and then next week chat about it. I feel like someone else in the crew that's watching have a question. So if you do, Zoe, hi darling. Mwah, 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 mwah.
Oh, is that Zoe down there that wrote amazing homework? Yes. Hello, love.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, please pop them in. That would be amazing.
In the age of clicking, swiping, and online dating, do you think the coming generations will have worse and worse social skills as they grow with adulthood? Yeah, it's not seeing it in real time. One of the things, I mean, I'm raising a teenage boy, and it's doing my head in half the time. But one thing that I noticed, he went through a big, he's speaking, since we've got to Mexico, it's a bit different. He actually has a lot more conversations. But what I noticed, when we lived in Costa Rica, and he had a lot of friends that were more Western friends, like, people from other countries living in Costa Rica, they would spend hours. He would spend hours on his phone at night talking to his friends and talking to one friend. Like, they would have especially when she moved back to another country, went back home to her home country. So he goes, oh my God, I spoke to so-and-so for 2 hours last night. I'm like, oh my God, amazing. They don't speak, they do voice messages back and forth because there's no sitting in silence, no sitting and waiting. And so you listen to the message and you answer in your own safe space. And the texting in the same room, all of that. So yes, it is. Stephen Biddock talks about this, the other Australian, Dr. Arne Rubinstein. A lot of people are talking about this around the lack of how, this is also a thing about boys raising themselves on porn, is they're not leaning into those muscles of being uncomfortable and, you know, asking someone on a date, to the prom, whatever it is, speaking and being uncomfortable with the no. It's just like, you know, they don't have to take rejection if they don't hear it or see it, and, you know, just blocking people or writing people off instead of being in conversation. So I have noticed that for my son, this has changed since we've been in Mexico. He's doing a lot more conversing live phone conversations. I don't know whether it's more of a cultural thing. No, there's still a lot of messaging, but I just noticed a few years ago that it was rife. His friends never talked on the phone. They just voice messaged for a long time. So that's my personal experience in it. But I know a lot of people are writing about it. Yeah, it's like the silence, the uncomfortability, the rejection. So these are normal human aspects that we need to go through. So.
Yeah, and it's all about the dopamine hit. So we are as well, but the generations to come, you know, are already addicted to the dopamine hit that happens through opening the messages and having all this information and stimulation. So the best thing we can do is to support them to find dopamine hits in other ways. And, you know, worse and worse social skills, I guess that's where it's at right now. But that's also a perception because, you know, we can still teach them, and everything's being brought to light right now. There's some really fierce things happening in the government, and, you know, lots of people are taking a stand, especially around Instagram and teenagers and this whole positive body movement that's happening. And the best thing we can do is to contribute by sharing awareness.
Yeah.
And just encouraging them to put the devices down. Because often, you know, just for short moments, many times, it's always the way with any kind of addiction. It's like the idea of putting it down is scary and isolating. So just doing it regularly and distracting our little friends so that they can, you know, get their eyes up out of the screen and into life more regularly. That's what I have to say about that. I believe that on a communication level, most of us are undereducated anyway.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I won't say that we were really well at it. We weren't ever educated to communicate. In our generation either. Like we're all healing that now as well. But but I think and this actually leads into what we're talking about, the Eve, you know, the daughters of Eve, the daughters of Lilith. The aspect around, because someone else is making a comment about, you know, ghosting and how like the ghostings come normal, like not to be fronting up to, not to be responsible, you know, not to stand in the responsibility of responses, whereas it's easier just to not respond, you know, all of that stuff, because you're not in front of someone. But the other side of this is this aspect of the pressure, because we now have more availability to see other people's lives and to see other people, whereas when you know, decades ago, you didn't see the rest of the world. It was only whoever's in front of you, and on a TV commercial, you didn't have it, like, you know, billions of people that, you know, are meant to be looking good or perfect or have got their lives together in front of you. You didn't realize that so many people did so well, as we're made to believe that everyone's doing really well. So that pressure, and I think that ties a lot into the Eve complex, You know, that's my personal thing. So do you want to jump in, JD, and speak about what is the daughter of Eve and the daughter of Lilith?
Yeah, I would love to. I also want to tap into this piece of ghosting as well, because it really hurts, and I believe that what it's doing to us as a culture is actually, it's triggering the abandonment wound. It's triggering that rejection wound. And we already live in a culture that has been, where we've been raised, where it's entirely solar identified. There's barely any mention of Divine Mother in our cultural practices. And this wheel of industrialization, the industrial wheel of productivity and striving for success, and all of these boxes that we are conditioned to tick in order to receive love. This is where the wound is. So even when we come into this awareness of Lilith and Eve, Eve being the version of woman that was created from the rib of Adam in the Garden of Eden. This is the story, right? And so this is the version of woman that was created to be palatable inside of this matrix that we live in. And so she's got all these things that she needs to do and tick and be in order to receive love and provision. And Eve took a bite of the apple, and what happened is now she is being blamed for every human being's sin on the whole entire planet, if this is the story that you've been raised with, which most of the people, like so many different countries and cultures, have been raised to believe this. And so this whole concept around the first wound, the sin that she created that made us fall from grace, is immediately, by default, set us all up with this separation wound. And that's rejection and abandonment. So if we're doing any work in the world, like all of our work really needs to be guided towards remembering that that is a fucking lie. It's bullshit. Because what sin actually means is separation from God, goddess. Goddess and God, both, sun and moon, together. I came into this work because I was in a yoga class when I did my yoga teacher training back in 2006. And I was in a yoga class and my teacher said, "Thank the goddess for your beautiful body." And I burst into tears. I was like, what the fuck? God is a woman? And from that moment on, my entire world shifted upside down and around, and that's what drew me in to the Temple of the Divine Feminine as my spiritual practice. This is not about being a priestess or a goddess or any of these things that are popular right now. This is actually about returning to balance. Lilith is the archetype of the first wife. So she was Adam's first wife. And Adam wasn't ready for her. So she said to him, "I'm going into the desert to have some fun." Because she's wild. She's like, "You sort your shit out, I'll be back."
I'm going to get my needs met because you can't meet them and not ready to.
Yeah.
So I'm not missing out on them. I'm not missing out on them because you're not ready. I'm off.
Now, why wasn't he ready? Because he wasn't, there was a part that was happening inside of Adam where he wasn't ready to meet all of the aspects of the feminine, which is the wild, chaotic, messy aspect of the divine feminine. Every month, woman dies. Our womb meets death every month. Every single month, the moon goes dark. Every year, the earth goes into winter. So these cycles of life, death, and rebirth are happening. And emotion, in all of its chaotic messiness, is the feminine. So Lilith, the first woman, represents the parts of us that have been suppressed and pushed down. She was the snake in the Garden of Eden that came back to say to Eve, eat the apple. All of the children of earth need the knowledge of the tree of life. And if Eve didn't have the courage to eat that apple, we would all be so freaking dumb.
I just got an image of all of these teddy, like the Teletubbies. We would just all be Teletubbies, like.
Totally. We would literally be in a state of forgetfulness, just wandering around like Teletubbies, just like plugged into the mass control agenda.
Darling, can I just
Like
mention something in here? Like you're just
go.
like
I'm
glorious.
ready.
Honey. No, do not apologize. I'm sorry that I'm digging. It's when at the beginning when you were talking about the, belonging and safety, and this is as you're speaking around, this aspect of Eve.
Yeah.
The story of Eve. For her, the way that she was created for the man, so that it's safe, and how she had to keep that safety was don't eat the apple, because if she does, she's not going to be long. If she does that action, the action is not lovable. So you're not going to be long. So now you're not safe. So you're being ousted out of the garden. Like you now need to leave. You're now full of shame because what you did was unlovable, creating no belonging, which means you're not safe. And this is that aspect of what, when we're looking at this whole, the social media that we have, the ghosting, it's like, I did something, I'm not safe, like I don't belong here, and the other thing to say, coming into that, someone's no is more about them, not you. So also too often it's like, they can't handle the truth you're bringing. They can't handle themselves in front of you because they don't have the confidence to be in front of you for whatever aspect, for whatever's going on. And there is the part of like, we're not a good match, and I don't have the courage to actually speak about that, which is not about you, it's about them. So this safety.
Either way, it's about them.
Pardon? By the way, it's about them again.
Either way, it's about them. Yeah.
Either way, yes, yeah. So this aspect of what we need to do continuously. So we need to look the part. We need to have the right business. We need to. For the feminine, we need to placate, we need to be we can't challenge, we need to be quiet, we can't be vivacious and wild, and we need to, so that we maintain a position of safety for ourselves. And that's what we're fed, we're fed this Eve complex, that you're too dangerous. You're too dangerous if you have an opinion. You're too dangerous if you are messy. You're too dangerous if you're wild. And this is where the rage of the feminine is continuously sitting, because this rage that we're being placated. I had a friend of mine say to me the other day something that I was absolutely stunned. This is a male friend of mine. And I'm not going to, I won't say who it is or anything, just because it's up to him to bring this forth to the public, which he will quite soon, because we talked about this. But one of the most exquisite things I've ever heard from a man recently was we were talking on screen. He's a work colleague of mine, and his desire what he craves in a relationship is to hold that space for the rage, the messiness, and the unfolding, unleashing of the feminine. All he fucking craves is he doesn't want a woman to hold back. He doesn't want to be in a relationship. She goes, I want the fucking messiness. I said, I'm so fucking ready to be present in front of her rage. That's all I desire to do is hold space. Hold space for her rage. So the way that he said it was more eloquent and more deep, and I was gobsmacked. And you know me, darling, I don't get gobsmacked. Like it takes a lot for me to go fucking quiet. And I just bawled. Like, for me as a feminine bodied person, to hear the masculine say, fucking bring it on. That's all I want. I mean, just,
it's what we need.
To not be made wrong for it, the fact that someone's willing to hear it and hold space, not to fix it. The masculine, you're not there to fix our rage. You're there to hold space for it, acknowledge it, and the next step comes.
Yeah, fully. And thank you for sharing that, babe, because that is just so on point with the two archetypes, the Eve and the Lilith, right? So Eve has been taught that everything about the feminine, the emotionality, her womb, everything, that it needs to be hidden. Whereas Lilith is comfortable with her emotions. So Eve is the epitome of the woman who, like, when we look at old England, for example, in the empires and the shit our foremothers went through to have any small level of freedom. Like, even when we look at the fact that it was not very long ago, like I think it's about 150 years ago, that they worked out that it wasn't okay to chop women's uteruses out in England because they had hysteria, because they were so suppressed. So what they used to do is chop our uteruses out and put us in mental asylums. And then this rad dude worked out that we just really needed to have an orgasm. So he started a business giving women orgasms, and it was healing the hysteria. And that's how the vibrator happened. So coming back to this place of, like, that's the ramification. This is that whole thing of this trembling that happens inside of so many human beings, because we have a cellular memory that it's not safe to be with our emotions. So what happens is we just create all of these distractions, addictions, all of the stuff that makes us look like we are being spiritually progressive and busy, but we're not. So Lilith, a Lilith woman, she knows how to sit with her rage. She knows how to feel her feelings. And so when we look at children of Lilith and children of Eve, we're all children of both, right? But the difference is whether we have learned how to sit with our emotions and all the messiness of our humanity. Because that's Lilith. And she came back from the desert. Astrologically, there was a Lilith return around the eclipse, the Oregon eclipse season.
Darling, I just need to interject. We've got 40 seconds left. Because someone,
okay.
I'm back on this because someone reported me for a painting, and so I'm not acting like Eve on my account, so I've been punished by the patriarch of Instagram. So we've got 20 seconds left. 25, 22.
Thank you.
Oh my God! Thank you so much for being here. Come back next Monday, because we've just started on this conversation. So hold that thought. And come back next Monday. Same back channel. I know, isn't it juicy, Sarah? Yes, I know. We all know. Jadey is phenomenal. Mwah.